Bonsoir. Good night to all of you in Facebook, Caribbean Hits FM. Bonsoir pour tout le monde qui a écouté nous à ce Palay Fwanchman. This is Palay Fwanchman. Ça c'est Palay Fwanchman. So we definitely cannot do it the way that you think we should do it. Like, most of you, sometimes you think like, a simulcast and say it's a bilingual show would mean that, you say one thing in Creole and you say it back in English. I don't think that's how it's supposed to go, but it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is that your thoughts are accepted, whether it's in Creole, your views in Creole or in English is accepted. This is Palay Fwanchman tonight. Tonight, this is the 23rd of August, 2023 on, Caribbean Hits FM / Facebook. Palay Fwanchman with your host Ras IPA. We also, it's a simulcast, so we are also on 92.1 in the north and 91.1 in the south. This is how we do it. And this is one of the hottest show on radio in this time, and also on the social media. This is one of the hottest, you could say, hottest show right now on shows now competing now with this show here, Palay Fwanchman, because Palay Fwanchman is on the button. So Palay Fwanchman is show qu'on diffé. Avec Palay Fwanchman nous là sous 92.1 as I say en note du pays, avec 91.1 en sud du pays. Avec nous là à ce Caribbean Hits FM / Facebook. Avec un simulcast. Il y a sur social media sur Facebook, et qu'à stream live, quand vous attendez là, ça c'est moi Ras IPA là, à Caribbean Hits FM. Avec un simulcast, il a aussi à 92.1 en nord du pays et 91.1 en sud du pays. C'est moi qui lève avec Ras IPA. Plus moun ka trouvé tué par violence, more homicides are happening in the country. More people are dying. More people are dying through the means of violence in SaintLucia. And people, I want to say one thing to you all. Call me tonight. Don't let Peter Alexander call and you all don't call. Call. Peter called last time and I allow him, and a lot of you said I should not have allowed him for that long. It's all right. Peter is a good friend of mine. I have worked with him. We have collaborated in many areas. Even with the whole mask thing during the time of COVID, we collaborated. He gave the vendors some masks and so on and so forth. And I was able to supply vendors who were out there taking the risk and trying to apply the business in the COVID time, and Alexander was there up to, I could tell you, he came up and he said to me, we have some masks and we have some people, we're giving some masks and so on and so on. And the organization he works with, and he gave some masks. So accommodating him is not a bad thing. And some of you, you thought I should have cut him off, I should have gotten rid of him ever since. I think I need to have a conversation with Peter. It doesn't matter. I mean, Peter started an organization, one. I think one was even better than this. and Samuel Bowers. I'm not. Don't take offense to that. But when he started, he had a number of people. He had some very great names with him, to working with him in one. And a lot of names, I don't know if you know them, and one of them I know was was Francis Papin that worked with him with one. He had a number of people with him with one. Although at the end of the day, it ended up with him alone as one. But Samuel Bowers, I want to say to you, you just start on the wrong footing. You start with just you and Buffalo. Where you going with that? It's not nothing wrong with Buffalo. You know, they have a story about Buffalo Soldier, but Buffalo always think that he has some backings of some dead heroes, and that's probably, you know, his uncle or his uncles, you know, and so on. And I don't think it really meshed. It really meshed in how it's supposed to. I'm just having a moment here, and I hope you all understand that. So please understand me. But the point is, I'm just saying that, you know, that's how we start the show today, with this whole thing that we're there. And I don't want to mess it up. I want to be friends with everyone, and Bowers, I mean, I've been appreciating your views, and I'm sure someone is going to call and tell you I'm talking about you tonight, and it's just that you to me, you know, just start with Buffalo. It's just not something I think is going to really make you glue on to some people. I think people will really want to use something to make sure that they are not attached to you, and that's not nice for you, I'm sure. Moving forward, the whole question of the homicides in the country, it shows clearly that our present Prime Minister, who's the Minister of National Security, is not really, you know, he doesn't have a clue, so to speak, as to what is really going on in this crime situation. For a matter of fact, maybe he has given up, he has put up his hand, he has put up the white flag and so on, and said, you know, there is nothing he can do. And maybe that's what it is. There is nothing he can do about the crime, neither to try and minimize on the crime situation. I don't know if there is a reason for that. And some people say, you know, when I'm talking, I have to be careful and so on. And I agree, I have to be careful. But I'm just saying, is it because, you know, there are situations where people think, and there are, you know, thinking that, you know, do you have people with questionable, you know, characters in your cabinet that you are unable to stand up against crime as you should have? And that's what some people are saying, Mr. Prime Minister and Mr. Minister of National Security. I don't know why you took that position in the first place. I don't think you are the kind of point man or the kind of strong man to be a Minister of National Security. That's my opinion. And then again, you know, my opinion, it doesn't have to count. I agree with you all guys. It doesn't have to count. And some guys tell me, even the Flambos and he was the one that used to talk so much and say Chasney have to go, and now he's crying. Okay. So I'm the crybaby now because I used to say Chasney have to go. Let me tell you all something. One thing I want to make clear. Even if I regret that I voted for Labour, that doesn't necessarily means I think Chasney is a good leader, you know. Chasney is a better leader than Philip J. Pierre. But that doesn't mean he's a very good leader. I don't know if you all understand what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that if I reject someone because I think they were doing a bad job, and then I got someone in the job who was doing worse than the person who I first had there, that doesn't make the person who I first had there that person is good and fit to continue doing the job. You know? That doesn't say that. It just says that the person that I have employed, the new person, is not doing a good job and makes the person who was there before look good, look very good. But that doesn't say that that person was a good leader. I think Chasney is a better leader than Philip J. Pierre. But I would say Chasney is a leader, and I would say Philip J. Pierre is not a leader. I would say probably Stephenson King was not a leader. He was a person who was like. When you're being like and being a leader is a different thing. Kenyatta was a leader, maybe he was a bad leader. John Compton was a leader, and probably he leaded good and bad. I don't know if you all understand me. I'm going on that tangent deliberately. But Philip, in terms of crime in the country, you have not showed leadership there. In other areas that we think you should have, you probably may be able to show leadership, you have not. Even with the economy, you have not shown leadership. You've shown where you blame people for borrowing money, blame Shastney for borrowing money, blame this for borrowing money, and I blame Shastney to borrow a lot of money he didn't have to borrow, or he didn't need to borrow all these monies and so on and so forth. I agree. And what he did with the money and the way he spent it, I have a problem with that as well. But you borrowed in one go 505.1 million in your budget, your first budget. That's what you did. What have you to show for that? You have not given assistance to no one, Philip. So you are not able to control crime and the homicide situation in the country. You have not been able to understand our situation economically. You promised you would give something like 1,005, and I'm speaking to you, Peter, hear that? 1,005, you'll triple it. I will triple it. And Peter, you know, you're just being absurd in a sense. Because can you tell me that a man would say, if he was prime, you're not prime minister at the time. How could you say if you was? Now, you know something, people, I'm laughing because it's not a joke. Don't tell me he's saying that if he was prime minister at the time. What do you mean by why he was prime minister? He was not prime minister. Alan Shastney was prime minister. He said he was prime minister in waiting, Peter. And so that if he was prime minister, he would triple it. I would triple it. I would triple it. I would ensure. He would ensure that me, who get the 1,500 lump sum, I would get 3 times that amount. I'm there with my arms are open wide waiting for it now. You're telling me if you was prime. I just, you know something? If the English language is difficult for people to understand, maybe I am part of one of them who has that difficulty in understanding the English language. Because Peter Alexander and Philip J. Pierre, if you all think we are idiots, we are fools, because there's a SaintLucia has a situation where we are one before the last in terms of the IQ level. So then we are stupid, so you all fellas could take us off with. I mean, let's be real about it. You're not the prime minister, but you're saying if you was the prime minister of SaintLucia, you would have given us triple the amount the present prime minister gave us. You become the prime minister. You think I should not expect you to give me triple when we are in the same situation as before? There is no ships in the harbor. No boats are coming. Even when Shastney left, he left there coming with a few boats coming in. You will under his reign for boats coming in 2021. And in 2022, after the season was over, no ships in the harbor, no cruise ships. Vendors are struggling, and City Council, oh God, poor vendors. They are at the wit's end, you know. They are at the mercy. They are at the crossroad. They're everywhere when it comes to City Council and the vendors. I think I have something they're saying. I want to read it properly. The vendors are somewhere. Vendors are in limbo. Vendors are in limbo because City Council said to them, "You got to and Richard Frederick, you have to pay." You have to pay 2 months. You have to pay 2 months, and then for you to be able to, it's a prerequisite for you to get the reprieve of all the arrests that you had before. And then the memo they sent to the vendors at the time, I have a copy of the memo here, and that memo is talking about something from memo. This memo was February 9th, 2022. a memo saying that you got to pay the amount and so on. And after you pay that amount, to start fresh in January, what they are going to do is to ensure that there is a kind of lease agreement. That lease agreement has not come. So vendors have been waiting for the lease agreement, and they have not seen the lease agreement so that they could start paying. So they have not been paying. But City Council is saying, well, since you have not been paying now, they send you a document, and the document only saying about the arrangement to pay or how much money you have not paid. So whatever they send to you is not telling you nothing about how to come and pay or what to pay or why they did not install or why they did not implement the lease agreement. No such thing like that was in the document that they sent to the vendors a few days ago. Today's Tuesday. I think Monday was the day that they gave this document. Monday or Friday. I'm not sure. I just want to try to be sure. I think either Monday, Friday, or Saturday. They gave vendors this document, and they said to them, they showed them a chat. There is a chat of how you need to pay. And of course, that chart is saying from January to August, how much money you owe council and so on, which is about $1,000 something. The point I'm making is that I'm not querying and saying vendors shouldn't pay or vendors should pay or don't pay. What I'm saying is this memo that was circulated, okay, to all vendors on February 9th, 2022 is definitely stating in it, okay, that there will, after you have paid the monies for the 2 months, so that you can get the reprieve for your res, they would start the whole process of continuing rental would be of a lease agreement. A lease agreement. That lease agreement has not come. Vendors have been waiting for it. Most of the vendors who have not paid have been waiting for the lease agreement. It has not come. So as a result of that now, yes, they have accumulated the rest. We also, the Vendors Association, sent a letter to City Council asking them, because we don't have no ships, because we understood that there will be no ships coming in through when the season is closed, we are asking for 50%, a reprieve on 50% reprieve on the rental, so that City Council may get something and we all will get something and so on. And then at the end of that, when the beginning of the season, they will resume the normal payment of rental and so on. They sent me a letter and they rejected that outrightly. They said no, they can't do that because they have already given a reprieve. It doesn't matter of the reprieve you gave. The reprieve you gave obviously is a reprieve that you had to give, because COVID and so on and so forth prevented vendors from making money. So if they owed you money and they were not making money and the arcade was closed for 2 years, how you expect them to have money to be able to pay you for rent they owed you and then to continue paying you for present reoccurrence of rental situation? But that's a current government. That's a government where the mantra is putting people first. That's how they put you first, my brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter whether you are labor, flumbo, or whatever. That's how they put you first. That's how they put you first. No situation of solving crime so far in St. Lucia. They're finding guns on the airport and the customs, guns coming in barrels, guns coming in, and custom officers have been, brokers have been arrested and charged, not charged, but arrested for questioning in terms of, trying to collect goods, and these goods has guns in it. All these things happening. It's time for us to find proper ways to stop the guns from coming in St. Lucia. That's one of the serious problems we need to solve. Stop guns coming in. the proliferation of guns in the country. That's the problem, and so on. Milton Daisy contract will end in December, at the end of December. It will end at the end of December. That's what the Prime Minister said when they asked him, would you renew Daisy's contract? He said no. You just made Daisy chairman of chairman of a gun licensing board, or whatever you call it. But now you're going to let him go in December, irrespective. And when they ask you, are you going to renew his contract? You said his contract is going to end. That's victimization. I don't really hold no brief for Daisy. But the point is, if you are appointing him as chairman of group that something you call you're appointing him for something you call something about gun licensing committee or gun licensing board, and he's the chairman of that, and all of a sudden now, so you'll tell me the next person that you're going to put there is going to be the said chairman. As you said, yeah, I could understand what you're saying. You're saying, well, it is not really the person, it's the office. So the office of commissioner, whosoever become commissioner, will be the person in that. But Milton, I have a problem with you, and I told you that. I told you that you should have declared clearly and abundantly make it clear to the Prime Minister that you will not be no chairman of no board that he's establishing that doesn't have the special service, what do you call them? Special service? There is a group there, the police, within the police. And that group, special branch, I think that's special branch special branch that will be able to supervise and vet and look into people and so on, to make sure or ensure that they that they are doing what they ought to do and all of them things there, and then the commissioner would be the person to sign the document. So they are doing the vetting and so on, special branch. So because they're taking it away from y'all and putting it in the hands of a committee, and I thought you should have said you will not be a part of that. You didn't do that. And what were the fellas messing you up? Because right now the fellas and them saying they letting you go. You look very vibrant. You don't look like some old man that need to go in a corner. You need like somebody who probably still have some life in you and could continue. But apparently these guys doesn't think so. They said your contract will end at the end of December, and then they will get somebody else there. When they ask him that is to reassure you that is not going to appoint you back to be the commissioner of police. This is something else. The other thing I really want to talk about, I mean, it's something that really touched me. I passed by the Human Resource Center the other day in Entrepot, and I saw no sign there as to what Philip JP has said the last time, that he has renamed that resource center to the Romanus Lansico Resource Center. No fanfare, nothing at all, just rename it, because he's looking for fame. I don't know what kind of fame he's looking for, that's Philip JP. But he decided that he's going, Honorable Philip JP, I want to give him one. People tell me don't call him Honorable. I want to say that. I want to say Honorable. And so on. No fanfare at all. There was no sign there. I passed there and I was at a funeral there some time ago. I was at a funeral there, and not a funeral reception some time ago there, and I ensure that I look and see if there was any sign there anywhere that was hidden, or maybe they hide it where they don't want people to see and so on. There was nothing like that there. No sign of any sign put up saying Romanus Lansico, Human Resource Center. But then again, we have another situation where the Gorsile Highway was renamed to Julian Hunt's highway. Julian Hunt Highway. Julian, I want to tell you something, Julian. And then I have nothing against you. If you want to dislike me for what I'm going to say, it's up to you. If your sons and other people that I know well, we always say hello, hi to each other. We may not be best friends, we not be stopped somewhere and have a drink or anything of that sort, but we know each other. If they don't like what I'm going to say on your granddaughter who read the thing there on you and whatever. But Julian, that's where I lose some level of respect for you. You mean to tell me, Julian, that a highway that you have nothing to do with is not part of you? That's not the way places, all the contribution you have made for St. Lucia and for Grosile and so on and so forth. It have nothing to do with no road and no highway. So to me, accepting that is like letting yourself down and letting me down, in my opinion. I don't know how you think about how I feel, but this is how I think. And I'm just saying that while I am saying that it is a good thing to name things after people and give people, accolades and give people things and award people before they pass away and before they die and all them things there, I just want to make sure and to ensure that people get it because they deserve it. Now, that one there, to me, is not something you deserve. I'm not saying you don't deserve a lot of things. You're a good man. And all the good, you're good. The Labour Party, and they mess you up so badly. You know what they did? When they wanted to get rid of you to bring Kenny Anthony, it was really a fiasco. But they took you out anyhow. And in the longer run, what they did is that they got rid of you. And then you had to go and run as an independent. You remember that? As an independent candidate. And you lost your deposit. That was the worst thing that ever happened to someone like you, honestly. So, while I have respect for you, I have lost respect for you. And the reason why I lost respect for you is because you didn't take that stand and say, you know something, Philip? Get it to someone who deserves it. That's not something I deserve. Find an area where I really, truly, heartily, truthfully deserve to be honored for and to be named after. Get something like that for me. Not that Grosile Highway. I'm sorry. And I don't care what anybody have to say. That's my take on it. I'm saying that I'm not vexed if Julian was named after things I think he was supposed to be named after. But I don't think that one is a good one. And then you feel it. You go and name the Human Resource Center in Entrepot after Romanus Lancico without any fanfare, nothing. And not even if you didn't want any fanfare because he's a Flambeau and you are Labour. But the sign is not even there. And there was a sign there to show that this is the highway, Julian Hunt Highway. I'm ashamed of these things, man. Honestly, I don't know, but it just doesn't mesh. It doesn't move me. And as I just used the word move, they moved the passport office to the ward building on between, I think, High Street and Chisel Street. And the long lines I saw there, my God, it's a shame, And some people seem to be thinking, St. Lucia's Let me tell you, you all stopped the whole thing about passports some time ago. People couldn't even get passports. You had to get only it was an emergency situation for you to get a passport. And all of a sudden now, people got passports. And because they got passports and so on and so forth, and they're working on getting people passports, that people don't in a rush to get passports. Of course, they're in a rush to get passports. And I give them all the credit to try to get this passports. And that's it. There is a rumor that is, and I'm not sure if that is true, and so the whole question of the lands that was supposed to be where Alan Chastney suggested that they're going to build some a courthouse, police station, and the detention station, and so somebody's there. Let's try to get the person. Let me see. Good night, caller. Come in. Yeah. Good night, sir. How are you doing? Yes, no, I'm not hearing you good. Also, what happened there?
About the fire they got that yesterday in the on the thing there in Castries.
In Castries, yes, the customs and
right.
Port Authority, yes.
Right. As though you said again, the Prime Minister talk about crime and different things. So, as I'm always saying, no Prime Minister cannot stop crime, my brother. None at all. It could be Flabo, it could be Labour, it could be Green Party. None of them just cannot stop crime. And to me, the way you talk there tonight, as though the Prime Minister have to stop the crime, the things that happening in the country. He could try. We all could try, and not him alone. Not those in Parliament alone that could try. We on the outside also could put our head together and try also. Next one again, you talk about the road, the highway to Shock to Grizzly. I don't see it have any problem for them to name that highway after Sir Julian Hunt. Because, for example, he was the MP for Grizzly at one time. We all know that. For example, Honorable Chastney, he was the Prime Minister of SaintLucia too. And it wasn't 5 years. They had his name on a road in Mikod in Tiroche already. Alan Chastney Drive. So it's not a problem because they put Hunt on the highway. It's not, to me, it's not a problem because it's not a problem for them to add the Honorable Chastney name on that road in Tiroche Mikod. So why it's a problem for us right now there? Because they put Sir Julian name on a highway.
Okay, well, caller, I'm going to respond to you, and I'm going to respond correctly. Let me tell you something. I'm not saying the Prime Minister of St. Lucia can stop crime. I'm saying he could minimize. I use the words minimize, but he has not been able to do that in any case. So far, he has put up his hand and said that he cannot. He has said everything that he has said is as if he cannot deal with the crime situation. When the Prime Minister was asked about how he's going to deal with crime because the crime is rising, and so you know what he said one time? He said if the last administration couldn't deal with it, it's not them that could be able to solve it in 1 year. That's not a good answer. When they ask him, well, Mr. Prime Minister, what would you say to people who are victims of the family being victims of homicides and so on and so forth? He said, well, there are crimes and criminal. We always have murders, but there are murder crimes in Jamaica, Barbados, and so on and so forth. That's not the issue, my brother. My brother is right here in St. Lucia. We need to find a way so as to take off guns off the street, take gun and prevent guns from coming in. The Prime Minister have failed in that regard. He said he brought in the RSS.
Now,
hold on. He brought the RSS, and the RSS has been of like almost a failure because while the RSS is here, the Commissioner of Police is asking for regional assistance and international assistance to resolve crime situation in the country. So that's not fair. That has been cleared in the sense that the Prime Minister failed miserably as the Minister of National Security. Now, the other point I want to make to you is that because I'm saying that while you name the Human Resource Center in Castries is in the name of Lansiko at Antwerp, there was no fanfare and there was no sign there of that. But you had fanfare and a sign for Julian Hunt. But Julian Hunt have nothing to do with that road, to tell you the truth. Let's be fair. Even if he was the representative for Castries.
How we don't have nothing to do with how we don't have nothing
because
to do with
that
that
road
road,
was built by somebody who, the people of them who was involved in that road, a whole heap of Flambos and Philistine and all of them and other people like that. He have nothing to do with that road. You know, so far, Julian have nothing to do with building roads nowhere, for a matter of fact, especially in Grosile. So to name him after a road. Now, I'm not saying they couldn't name Julian Hunt on something, you know, because I'm sure there are areas that they could name him, and I'm going to support it 100% as long as it's fitting.
Right.
But I don't think it's fitting for them to name any road, especially that particular road there, in his honor.
That highway.
You understand what I'm saying?
So in what way you think it? In what way you think it's not good for them to meet after
that he has nothing to do with these roads that going up to the north or roads in the south. He had nothing to do with that. He was nowhere around when these roads were being constructed and built, and so on and so forth. So that have nothing to do with him.
Okay, for example, Ras IPA, Mandela didn't have nothing to do with SaintLucia, and they named a road after Nelson Mandela.
He drove there, so they want to call it.
And you know that too.
Hello.
Yeah.
If Mandela is an international figure, he drove on a particular road, and they want to call it Mandela Drive because he drove there, because he didn't have a name. Nobody did nothing much there to say, well, all right, that was a road that was built by, let us say, the colonials. Okay? The Europeans built that road as the colonial road that was built by our ancestors, the slaves and so on, and the colonial people, and us who was built these roads. And if Mandela drive through there, and we decide to name it after him, nothing wrong with that. You know why nothing is wrong with that? Because this road was built by us, the colonials. You understand what I'm saying? I hope you understand what I'm trying to say.
But to me, what you are saying there, as though they could, and they had the right to name that drive after Mandela, but it's not right for them to name that highway.
Why I'm saying that, you know why I'm saying that? Because
the ex-minister
to name it after Julian Hunt, in a country where he was part of the political landscape, and he had not been part of the whole development in that particular area, it's difficult for me to understand. What I'm saying to you, and I want you to be able to understand. If you cannot understand that, it means that you are short in something. I'm saying that if there is a particular road, hold on. If there is a particular road that was built for some time ago, and it was built by us, our slave people who were enslaved by the colonials, and we build these roads. And if one day someone who come up to be a hero in the world, someone who come up to be someone that we have to look up to, one of the most powerful black presidents in the world, come and pass on that particular road that was built by us, the slaves at the time, and if they decide to name it after him, it's a good thing. But if you have a road that was built by a certain set of politicians in the country, it is not fair to name it after another kind of politicians that is opposite to the politicians who did it. That's my opinion on that.
All right.
But anyway, thank you very much for your call.
Thank you much, man.
Yeah, man. I appreciate the discourse as well.
All right.
Yes, one love. Yeah, man. And again, I want to just ask, Tulsi, where are you now? And I was saying that this thing there, if that is the case, and I'm not sure this is the case. So thank you very much, caller, for your discourse. But I'm not sure if that's the case, that they're going to build this place and they're going to sell it to someone, I don't know who yet, and to develop it, and for government to rent the said departments for the said reasons that the former administrations thought that they would have brought it up for. And it would be a good thing to ask Tulsi to make a statement on that. I mean, Tulsi, who was the man of the National Trust, if you can say something in that regard. Now, I'm appreciating my caller so far. I love you, caller, and I really like your discourse, and it was nice. It was really nice. But Tulsi, I don't know if that's true, and I'm not sure if what I'm saying there is the truth, because I'm saying that this is talk that we have been hearing, that is circulating, that has been going around. Ça c'est parole qui a parlé, ça veut dire la langue qui a bail, côté d'être cité à, qui te mettait là pour te ça faire un caillotiance, en place encore de cadre, police, station police, et bail comme ça. Avec caillotiance, avec l'autre maison, ça dit qu'il point trois différentes qualités et positions. Avec conseil, manière qu'on dit là comme si ils sont avant ça, d'autres moun par étranger. Avec ces moun ça, c'est moun qui a bâti maison. Avec ces maisons ça, il a fait gouvernement qui a loué pour même raison gouvernement que ça fait pour quoi. Moi pas ça c'est vrai. À nous garder pour aimer des ça qui marché. Mais c'est tout aussi parler, dire bah est-ce que ça pas vrai ça vrai puisque on ne pas parler en chai associé avec ça. You were talking a lot about these things. I think there was injunctions and all kind of things against the former administration with these lands because you thought that there was some situation of some historical things and artifacts and so on that was there and that was destroyed or were not protected or whatever. Right now, what you think should happen with that property there? And if the government is saying today, if that they are going to give it to someone or sell it to someone, that the person could build this facility there, the same facility, and rent it to government, I wonder what are you Tulsi saying about that? I myself believe there was arrangement that was done sometime with Kenny Anthony, where a number of fire stations, police stations, and so on were built, and it was from NIPDEC and the NIPDEC and there was another name I supposed to mention there with the NIC. There was a kind of project that they brought up too, and that project was helping in building police stations and fire stations, repairing some of them. Why we don't try to bring in something like that forward? Why we don't? Caller come in. Atwe.
You heard me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
You're saying something there that first time I heard it, and if what you're saying there is true, I don't believe that. I don't want to believe what you're saying there. Are you talking about the premises where they have the barracks and things for the police and
yes.
You mean to tell me? Well, you say you heard that. I don't believe that can be true. No, the government will not.
I wouldn't want to believe that, neither, caller. I'm caller. I'm just like you.
If this government do that, hell and damnation.
One question. I believe if it's anything like that, I think Miguel went there when they were demolishing some of the sections of these areas there. He went there and he almost nearly get himself killed. That's Miguel Favier. But I think I would want to go there and probably get killed if any project like that was going to happen there.
What you just said there, I refuse to believe that's what's going to happen.
I refuse to believe what I'm saying too, caller. And I hope you understand what I'm saying, because remember I said that I'm not sure if what I'm saying is the truth. I want everybody to get
it better
clear.
not be. Let's for our sake hope it's not.
Yeah, and let's hope it's not true.
Thank you, man. That's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. I appreciate your call. Thank you very much. Thanks very much for that. Again, yes, and I agree with the caller, because I'm not sure if if that is true. And did I mention anything about it? No cruise ship is coming in the harbor now, and so on. And then we used to have cruise ships coming one every week and one every other week, and so on. But no cruise ships is now, and because no cruise ship is here now, we are suffering. The vendors are suffering. 90%. They're depending. 90% of our earnings, our income comes from cruise ship. The presence of cruise ships in our harbor. And when there is no cruise ships, we all suffer. Vendors in the arcade, vendors in the market. And I want to say something here. I'm in a critical juncture now. And the juncture I'm in there now is because I retained the presidency of the Vendors Association. And some vendors who were there and they supported me are saying to me, be careful how you're speaking on behalf of vendors, because they have a lot of vendors who don't support you. But I really want to tell them too, that when you are in a union and you represent people on a particular, let's say on a particular project on a site or something, or in a factory or in a government, government institutions, and you represent people there, excuse me, and so on. There is one thing we need to be cognizant of, and that is, when you represent people who are members of your organization, whether it's an association or a union or whatever you want to call it, you're going to represent people who are your members. Other people will benefit. I remember when we first went into Vendors Arcade and they were saying that we had to pay X amount, and I thought that it was too much for us to pay at the time, and they decided to decrease on the amount. Everybody benefited. Those who were members of the Vendors Association as well as those who were not. In a situation where, let's say for example, the Civil Servant Association, and when the Civil Servants Association represent civil servants who are the members, and if they negotiate for wage, for example, renegotiation, those who strike and so on, and those who didn't strike, at the end of the day, if those who strike were successful, they succeeded in the strike with the unions, and they got the 10% or the 4%, 3%, or whatever percentage that they will succeed, they succeeded in getting or gaining. In the longer run, everyone gets that 4%. Those who didn't support the strike or whatever, they are going to receive the 4% as well, or the 3%, or whatever percentage. And so it is with the Vendors Association. If we're negotiating with the government or we think something is not right, or we're talking against something that's not right for vendors, and we are talking in the behalf of our vendors, those who are representing or those who are members of the Vendors Association, eventually it will redound to all the vendors will benefit if the city council comes to the senses and decide that they want to do it. I remember the time when Lambert Nelson was the town clerk. That time there was a town clerk of the city council. There is none now. And we sent a letter to him at the close season, when the season was closed, the tourist season and the cruise ship season. We asked him for 40% discount on a reprieve on the rental until the season reopened. He did reward us that. He did agree with the rest of the councillors to give us that reprieve of 40%. It wasn't only the members of the Vendors Association who benefited from that reprieve. It was endless other vendors who were not members. Vendors in the craft market, provision market, the slash condiment market or spice market. All these vendors benefited from that reprieve. Even vendors on the street who were not vendors, members of the Vendors Association reprieve. So now we are out there and we all are suffering because there is no cruise ship. The city council said that they are going to start what you call the repayment after the reprieve of the 2 months, after giving us a reprieve from all the arrests that we owed from since 2017 until 2020 or whatever. And so we would start in January 2022 with something fresh, a fresh mandate of what you call a lease agreement. That didn't happen. And because that didn't happen, vendors right now have accumulated. And we wrote them and told them, give us a reprieve of 50% on rental because the season closed and there is no ships in the harbor. And they did not, they did not offer us that thing. They said because they have given us the reprieve of the arrest that we owed, they cannot give a reprieve because they have to fix a place, because we made some recommendations based on what the best recommendation was done, based on because they wanted to take us to Point Seraphine because they said that was in a bubble, and that they wanted to take vendors up there in that bubble, especially vendors who were vaccinated. And we, the Vendors Association, said no, we have a facility. Let us certify that facility and if we could certify it, then when the captains of these ships that come into St. Lucia decide that they're allowing people who were vaccinated, who are the both of the or if you want to call it the two vaccines, when you have the first dose and the second dose, and they were allowed to leave the ships and go and venture anywhere, that we could have benefited from that. Because if they could leave the ship and go and be anywhere on Jeremy Street, by any bar on Jeremy Street, sitting down and having a drink, or stopping anywhere around the street side and buying things, they could have come to the vendors arcade as well. So we said, allow our facility to be certified. We went through the workshops and all things and training center for all of that. That didn't even work. In the final analysis, we asked for the toilets to be finished, the toilets to be refurbished, and so on, retrofit and so on, re-retrofit, fix the toilets, fix the roof and so on. There was some clear zincs on the roof and the pomoclad, the clear ones that would create more light in the place, do all of that, paint the place a little bit, and they gave some fellas contract, and they paid along the sides of Vendors Arcade, and they also put some, some entrance and exits signs and so on, and all this was done and so on in that regard. But at the final analysis, we collect portraits, not portraits, but photos of vendors, so that they could get a certified plaque or maybe a certified ID and so on, to say that they are certified. But that didn't happen. So instead, we got back the pictures that we gave them, and we have to give back the vendors the pictures. Some of them were feeling, well, we were keeping the pictures because of kind of superstition. People think, well, are you keeping their pictures for whatever reason? We had to give them the pictures quickly. We had some things, some PPI and whatever they call it, private protection equipment. Private protection equipment, I think we had that there. That was supposed to be when the people get certified, they would get these things, but we didn't get that. That hasn't happened up to now. That's the situation here now. But now City Council is sending a document for all vendors and giving them a breakdown of what they owe from since January till now. But they forgot that they gave a memo, and the memo was saying, well, you'll start paying in January with a lease agreement. I hope people understand that. I just really wanted to make that clear. The last thing I want to talk on my agenda, although we end some call on my preamble, is why do the Prime Minister need Riani Isidore and Mandy Lewis as two people? And after you have all this barrage of people like Shazi and Peter Alexander out there as public relation officer, why do they really need Riani and Mandy Lewis as one is press secretary and the other is what? Communications specialist or something like that? I don't know, but anyway, I don't know. Just according to some people, it seems to me it's just job for the boys. I don't know, but we seems to be spinning top in mud here, and we just going through whatever, and that's the situation now. But something I kind of want to question that in a sense as to what's the need for all this information. But again, it seems the Labour Party look like as if they're in government, and the Prime Minister, as he said before, he was in the Prime Minister in waiting, and probably he's still there in waiting. Apparently he hasn't realized that he's the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, because he keep reminding people about the mandate and the whatever 16-2 or the 15-2 or whatever that happened the last time there. And some people claim that some of the other, one of the two of them, which is the Richard Frederick and Stephenson King, they up to now they're not members of the Labour Party, as if that means anything. anything to anyone. If you bring some people in your government, they seems to be talking and have to push up and show up their first self like them is more labor than in labor. Could you imagine King was such a docile kind of fella, nice fella, talking soft, all of a sudden he joined up with labor and he rowdy and he making noise in parliament, and I've never seen King like that before. But you always have to prove yourself. They always say about in gangs, there is a period of initiation. When you first come in, you have to do some initiation. You have to go out there and do something terrible. With the gangs, you either have to go and kill somebody, fire shots after police or something. You need to show that you're loyal. You have to show your loyalty. And it seems to me that's what King had to show, his loyalty to Labour Party. So don't come and tell me he's not a Labour Party fella. I don't buy that. Or Richard not Labour. I don't buy that. Somebody told me how they are part of the government or the cabinet, but they're not Labour Party. Listen to these fellas. Richard Frederick just recently made some statements talking about VAT. And he said it's not the government. He said it's just him. And if he was, because Alan Chastney brought up the VAT, he thinks that, if it was him, he would bring it, brought down the VAT, sorry. I said brought up some time ago too, and I have to change that. Brought down the VAT from 15% to 2.5% less, which is 12.5%. And so we lost 52 million or something like that, and as a result he would have bring it back because he would bring problems in the country and the people suffer more. That is not true based on what the results are in terms of in 2021, where Philip JP read that our economy grew by 12.5%. Well, anyway, or 12.2%, something like that. But the reality about it is, as soon as he mentioned that, I heard Timothy Antoine, the guy who had a red tie. Somebody told me it wasn't a red tie. They say he had a red bow tie. Who carry a red bow tie? I don't know. Somebody said he had a red bow tie. Timothy Antoine, you had a red bow tie? Why you had a red bow tie? I don't know. Why you would have a red bow tie? People don't have red bow ties like that. But you're odd in a way. You're very odd to have a red bow tie. But you had a red bow tie, I understood, and then you were talking about how St. Lucia was in recession because the VAT was very low and the lowest in the OECS and so on. There were reasons for that. There are reasons why some OECS countries VAT may be higher. Antigua doesn't have income. They doesn't have an income tax regime. So if they doesn't have an income tax regime, if they raise up VAT for whatever reasons, what's wrong with that? If Barbados have a 21 point or 18 or 17% VAT, why not? Barbados giving a lot of benefits to its citizens. Older citizens and senior citizens could drive the vehicles with a card, just swipe it and they just drive the transport sector. They could drive on a transport without paying and so on and so forth. The government are giving people benefits and incentives. Just recently they decided to give children, newborn kids have benefits to get and so on, that they don't have to totally and solely depend on the parents like the mother and the father. That how we do here, we quickly want to go and sign warrant and so on to send fathers to jail, and when they come out of jail they still owe the money and all them things. But we don't see children as a part of the asset of the state, and therefore we try to make fathers pay, and say you don't pay and pay la hansi, you pay la jol and all them kind of things. These are the things we do. He has to pay. If he doesn't pay, he's gonna end up in jail, and when you end up in jail, your child now will have to think, well, my father have gone to jail, and some other person go. Let's just drop that something. I just gonna take a break right now. I think I want to take a break now, and then let's take a break, and then we'll be back with some, or probably maybe if it's not a break, we are going to take some kind of clip we have there, and then after that we are going to come right back to you. Huh? Nous vient encore ici là avec ça nous já parlé a sua chai sujet dans ce sujet moi devais mener pour ça baou on de clip là soit ça nous já parlé sur quand même. One of the things I would like to you sais ba la moi que voulais faire c'est pour moi ça demander autres pour ça commencer à couiller nous ici à la bas nous appelle là nous parler à son certain badge de différents sujets so à présent moi quoi ça c'est présentement ça nous demandé pour faire what we are going to ask you to do c'est commencer à couiller nous ici exemple of les autres là c'est numéro c'est 489 478 489 4781 bon ça couiller nous sur WhatsApp aussi et ça couiller nous direct ou ça aussi sur le WhatsApp, vous voulez dire ça, vous voulez dire, voyez, ou ça fait ça aussi. So you could have your WhatsApp message, or voice message, and you could send it as well to tell us. Ça c'est quand le bail à New York, là. Quoi, voyez nous devant là, avec nous ces situations que nous caille parler à soi, puisque il semble moins nous jamais en pile ces différents. Bah là nous te voulons parler et nous te voulons pas un petit clip à soumettre ça moi ouais mais Peter Alexander moi pas mi ça moi nous déjà parlé là sur nous dit quoi ou c'est PRO puisque moi chimère ou te mentionné chimère quoi que ça là encore marchand et vous te dit quoi il va commencer chimère tout de suite. Mais somewhere how come I say? I saw the road you mentioned that they are going to start. But you better than Rihanna. You better than Mandy Lewis. You better than Shazi. it seems, Peter Alexander, as a public relation officer, you seems to be, the defunct public relation officer, but you seems to be having information that these people don't have. I mentioned this whole thing about the Marshall Road, and you quickly came to the defense of the government and the Prime Minister especially, and said that that road will soon be in construction or renovation or whatever. I'm not sure, but maybe you would call again and give us some kind of highlight on something else that is going on, especially with the situation with the lands that with the new hotel in Sabusha in Swazay, and the whole question of moving the people from there and putting them somewhere else, and they have gotten letters saying that by December or November they're supposed to move out of the area, and if they don't move, the action will be taken against them either by the Invest SaintLucia, or I don't know if it's not NBC, the land department, some department dealing with lands. I try to get their name right now. I'm not getting it right now, but the point is, they are in the situation where they have gotten approval from the former administration. I understood that they was going to build houses for these people, and they were going to or replace them on lands and so on. And some of the houses they have, they are in dilapidated conditions, and they probably in some state of disrepair, some of the houses. But anyhow, the government, the present administration, as far as we are hearing, they stopped the whole question of what the former administration was doing, and now they want to move the people out very quickly and so on, and some of them are saying they don't have the time to move. Some of them have not moved the way they wanted them to move. Some of them have some wall structures there, and they are not going to sign documents quickly as to move or anything of that sort. So anyway, the numbers are there: 489-4781, cut with Nef, cut set with Yon. Call us here, callers. I'm sure you're all out there, you're all hearing us, you're all a part of this whole my listenership, and I'm sure you all are doing the best that you all can in terms of trying to really follow us here on Facebook, on Facebook, Caribbean Hits FM, and I'm sure you all are following us here. And this is something that I think we appreciate as well. We would like to know that you guys are following us and are following us properly. Yeah. Well, some people say I fall for, I'm looking at some of the calls, they say I fall for the lies, and some people said he ended up as none, and the other Philip Pierre shown a leader goat, and somebody said he has shown leader goat. Well, I don't know what that means. Some other person said he has the situation now is worst ever. He said the situation is worst ever. Well, yeah, I mean, Philip said one time that the situation in St. Lucia, in terms of governance in St. Lucia, has been worse than ever before. I remember he saying something like that. I'm not sure if St. Lucia is in a worse situation. I think the time when St. Lucia was in a worse situation was when we had the situation with when Alan was there, and when the country was closed down completely. We have a call here now, so we are going to take the call. Call out to bonsoir.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, good night.
How are you doing?
Not too bad, fine, thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
No, I just wanted to correct you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to correct you about that situation with Sir Julian Hunt.
Okay, go ahead.
Julian Hunt. You hearing me? I'm not really.
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Okay, I was saying.
Yeah.
Hello.
I'm hearing you. Yeah.
I was saying. Yeah, I was saying. I wanted to correct you.
Go ahead.
With the situation.
I'm subject to correction.
Oh man, I cannot. I'm not hearing you too well at all. Let me try to call back again.
But I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you clearly, so I don't know why you're not
No,
hearing
but
me.
I can't hear you though.
Oh, you can't hear me. Well, go ahead with your comment. It doesn't matter. Go ahead. I'm hearing you.
Oh wow.
Just go ahead. I'm hearing you.
Yeah, let me adjust that phone. That's what the problem. I'll call you right back.
Okay, well, it's up to you now because
Yeah.
I'm actually hearing you.
Yeah,
so it's up to you. Yeah, but I'm hearing you. I don't know why you would like to, because I am hearing you.
No. It's nothing funny. I just not hearing. The phone is making a kind of noise in my head.
Well, you know what you should do, caller? Just go ahead with your comment.
Yeah, or I'll just text you it. Okay.
No, just go ahead. Just go ahead and say what you're saying, what you want to say.
What I was talking about is so Julian, that road was built by a French group. That thing with Sir Julian, it was built by a French company. That Grizzly Highway during the time of Sir John Compton.
Correct.
So basically, I can understand that Sir Julian is kind of basically one of the top politicians from when I was a youngster, or maybe when you were a youngster. But it was not really built by him. You understand what I'm trying to say?
It wasn't built by Julian, right? Yes, I agree.
Yeah, it wasn't built by him. So I don't want people to think that he built it. But we all know he deserves an accolade, man. Ain't no problem about it. But he did not build it. He did not build it at all.
Correct.
So that's for you can check it out anyhow.
Yeah.
Okay then. Okay, Ras?
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're
Good
welcome.
night.
I appreciate your call, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't hearing you too much.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But I heard you correctly. I heard you properly, and then the callers out there heard you, or the listeners out there, in fact, heard you properly. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay then. Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, he's correct. He didn't build it, and then it was built during the John Compton era, and so on and so forth. So the point I'm really making, he really didn't have anything to do with that road. So I'm naming the road after him. And even if he deserved accolades, he deserved to be recognized, he deserved to name things after him. I just don't think you just going willy-nilly and trying to just find anything to name after him. Would you just go and name the Millennium Highway after Sir Julian Hunt? No, I don't think you should do that. Should you just a building that was built by a particular person or something, just go and put Julian Hunt's and print on it and say no? I don't think that's right. So I agree with you, caller, that Julian Hunt is as someone you're supposed to have respect for. But you know what? What I've said is that I think he have caused me to lose respect for him. I want you all to get me right, that I'm not saying that I don't respect Julian. That if I had something like, let's say, 90% respect for him, I have lost 20% of it. Because I think I would be the person who would say to myself that I don't deserve that accolade for that road, that particular road. I would say something else. I would tell Philip, listen. And Julian, you're an adult. You're an elder to Philip. Maybe you could have been, I'm not sure if you could be Philip's father, but I'm sure you are older person to Philip a lot more in terms of age. You are senior to Philip, and you should have told him, Philip, if you want to honor me and you want to give me some recognition, let me identify a few areas that you can do that. But with doing it like that has caused me to have less respect for him. Someone is calling here now. Good night to you, caller. Come in. Antwe caller. Antwe, bonsoir. Good night. What happened? We have lost this caller? I suspect we have lost this caller. I thought we had the caller and then we lost the caller. Well, it's call back, please. You could call back. We thought we had you. We thought we had you there. You call. It was a missed call. Call back, please. I don't know if I saw. I didn't see the call at the time when I would probably was supposed to have seen it. I didn't see it. But call back. We are going to definitely answer your call. But I have no problem, and again, I want people to get me correct, I have no problem with Julian getting any kind of accolade. I have no problem with Julian getting any kind of award, reward, or his name, his name attached to anything that he has something to do with. That you'll get me. He has something to do with. I think, in my opinion, what I've said, and I've made it clear that I think that what should have happened is that they should have probably allowed that they give Julian something that really suits and fits him, not something that other people did, and his name is just getting in between it. Some guys told me how. Mandela, if roads were built by us, the colonials, under the colonial period, and these roads were built by us, our ancestors, and so on, and if they feel that some people who has a name in the world of our race, and they have contributed to the world culture, the world politics, and so on, they have become great people like Mandela, and come to St. Lucia and drive a particular area, and we want to call that area Mandela Drive or whatever we want to call it. I have no problem with that. The only problem I'm saying is with Julian Hunt in St. Lucia, if we are giving him an accolade based on his political contribution to St. Lucia, we should find things that actually is in relation to his contribution to the development of St. Lucia. That's my point here. You may like me, you may don't like what I'm saying, and if you don't like what I'm saying, I just want to hear your view on it. Like how the guy he was brave enough, he came to the point that he challenged me, and that was good. He could challenge me on a point. Whether you are successful or not, it doesn't really matter. It means that we are in a discourse, we're discussing things, and things are flowing in a certain kind of way, and so on and so forth. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. But the caller who called a while ago, I wonder if you just decide to hang up, or we lost the call. I would hope that's not what you did. Let me see if we have any comments that we can follow here. Somebody say hyper thanks for educating them. I don't know. Well, thank you very much, caller, for that. I'm writer for that. Well, some people say that. Okay, well, I've already read that. So any other comments? Tonight I find you all really not commenting much. Is there a show you all following apart from this show here? If you're not following this show, you're all falling off. You're all falling off. You're all falling short. This is a show you need to listen to. That is a show you need to participate in. Palay Fwanchman is the show you got to listen to tonight. Every Tuesday night, you have to be tuned in to Palay Fwanchman on Caribbean Hits FM. And if there is any way you could assist, you could help in trying to make this show continue, I would greatly appreciate it. because we need to keep a show like that on, because this is a show, it's not a flambeau show, it's not a labor show, this is the people's show. This is the show that deals with issues of the day. Okay, I don't want to go back and blood fire in the opposition for whatever they didn't do or did or whatever in the past. I want to deal with the present administration and what they're doing. My concern is the governance of St. Lucia, who's governing this country, and how this country are going to go forward with whosoever is governing it. And if there are people out there who intend to come in to government to govern this country better, govern St. Lucia much better, we want to talk about them too. For a matter of fact, this THISS, I don't know what this, I'm not sure. I mean, I like Bowers, but I don't know, if he has a kind of trajectory that I appreciate in the sense of the housing situation, but I'm not sure that everything he says is really on point with how we have to look at things in the country. I don't think his associates are the people that is going to really make a difference. To me, he starts on the wrong footing. That's just my opinion. Now, I could be 100% wrong and incorrect. But Bowers, you are a smart person. You're not stupid. How do you mention something about the Anglican Church in England is going to support, affordable housing and so on and so forth? That's a good thing. I heard you mention, your article on Facebook was a bit confusing, because we thought that actually, Father Albert or whatever his name was actually supporting your party. But what he was really supporting, based on what I read from what you said in the Facebook article that you had there, was that he was actually supporting something about affordable housing and not just your party or whatever. I don't know. But you have a way putting things, and maybe you're a smart guy. Maybe you are smart as Rick Quinn. Sometimes Rick Quinn is a guy who normally has a kind of headlines, and when you read the thing, because the headline gives you the impetus, give you the the zeal to read the article, but when you do go into it now, you find there is a different twist to it and so on. Rick Quinn is a guy like that. He normally sometimes he leads you on to really read the article by the headline. That's why you see a friend of mine said that don't judge the book by the cover. It's not always the right thing, and he said judging the book by the cover is the right thing, because you always is the cover of the book that encourages you to read the book, and it's always Rick Quinn headlines that encourages you to read his articles, and that's something. So you need to judge the book by the cover. I think so too, because most of the time it's the interest of the cover that gets you to read the book. For a matter of fact, what I want to say is that, I don't know if I said it right, but what I want to say is that, okay, let's get this caller. Caller, good night, you on? Bonsoir.
Yeah, sorry, but I got it. I have to always go into my archives, man, because I usually collect these things. The Grosley Highway was built by Sir John Compton, brought in a French company by the name of Copaco to construct the Grosley Highway. It took many years to build and complete the highway. Upon completion of that work, the Grosley Highway was the first Barber Green bitumen road in St. Lucia. So John never asked to be praised for what he did. Okay?
Thank you very much for your information, sir. You just really...
Another thing, one more. You see that Mandela Drive? I am not in favor naming it Mandela Drive, just because he was famous and he was in prison or whatever in Devil's Island. Mandela was a very serious guerrilla terrorist at the time when he was a young lawyer, okay? Together with
would you call, no, caller, I will stop you here. Caller, I will stop you there. when people are freedom fighters, you don't call them gorillas. Mandela was a freedom fighter. I mean, gorillas is different. When you use the term gorilla, to me.
Okay, he was a freedom fighter.
Yeah, so gorilla is not the right word there.
I didn't say, okay.
You said
he
gorilla.
was a freedom fighter. Mugabe was a freedom fighter. Both of them collaborated, Rhodesia and South Africa.
Yeah.
Mugabe beat them in Rhodesia, Ian Smith, who was the prime minister, and he named it Zimbabwe. Okay? Mandela got caught. You know, I would rather name Winnie Mandela Drive than Mandela, because when he came out, he was soft. Simple as that.
Let me tell you something, my brother. Let me listen to me.
I'm speaking. Freedom of expression.
No, you're right. You could talk your thing, but I could disagree with you as well as you can disagree with me or agree with me.
Okay, cool.
But the point I'm making to you is that the area that we call Mandela Drive was not. That's a road that actually was not really built by a particular a leader in St. Lucia. It was built through the colonial times. So I would appreciate that if it was built through our ancestors' sweat and blood, and if we decide we want to name it after someone we think that has made a phenomenal contribution to freedom and liberties in the world, and in our world, which is the African world, the world of Africa, and so on, I have no problem with that. But your opinion, if I differ, if I feel opposite to your opinion, I don't think it's a problem. I just think...
Ras, let me correct you a little bit. In the beginning, as a freedom fighter, okay, he was just as good as Mugabe. Okay, Mugabe won.
So you want to compare them then? So you're making some comparison?
Yeah. So he went to Devil's Island. He came out. When he came out, even his wife, Winnie Mandela, was shocked at how he took the presidency. They gave him the presidency, but he still allowed, you know, the white aristocrats and the Boers in South Africa to run him. Okay.
You see, again, you know why I'm going to really kind of disagree with you, because I have heard that story before. I don't think that if you find a country like the way South Africa was, that all you want to do is to run the whites out, and because Rhodesia started it. Rhodesia did it, or if you want to say Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe suffered as a result. Because right now, South Africa is a better, prosperous country than Zimbabwe. Because Zimbabwe run the white people out, or the Europeans, and they run away them with all the equipments, all the tools, the equipments of the factories and the factory shells and so on, and they run them away with that. And they remain now where they had to use, you know, manual labor to plow the land and so on and so forth. So that was something that was not really necessary at the time. If we had the technology in place, what Mandela was doing, in my opinion, and some people criticize him about that, but I think he went to a period of reconciliation. He tried to work.
You're right. 100% right.
So with him, I think in a sense, while he did not achieve what a lot of us would agree that he should have achieved in terms of giving more to the Africans who were the original people of the land, and maybe, you know, his lifetime, he just will have one lifetime. I just think the other people who were supposed to continue his legacy, they failed, and they have gone into areas of trying to just have so many wives, like Zuma and them.
And three of them going to 3 presidents going through corruption in a court.
Exactly, that's what I'm just going to. They're going to a lot of wives and corruption and having, you know, buildings and having a lot of wealth and vehicles and so on and so forth. So if they had continued the legacy of Mandela in the way that Mandela was really trying to make this thing happen, and I'm not trying to make it look like Mandela was some kind of perfectious person, he was perfect, and then as a result he was so perfect. I'm just saying that some of the methods, the thing that he tried in terms of saying, okay, we have a South Africa country, there was apartheid, there was this thing, this people who thought we were nobody, we were animals and so on, but then okay, and we fought for freedom, and then now we are free. Okay, we are free. We're not saying just take all these people and just put them in a big box or container and send them back to Europe. Well, let's try to work together. We have so far, we are thus far. So let us come together. Let us look at the problems that we had. Let us look at how the whole apartheid thing went through and so on, and let's see how we can move on by gradually distributing wealth and so on and so forth and so forth and so forth. I thought that was a very good idea. That was a novel idea, but again, I think it's the people who did not take Mandela's legacy and run with it.
Let me give you one last point. Let me give you one last point, Ras. Ras, one last point.
Go ahead.
You think that Mugabe, if Mugabe came out in a situation like that, that any of these mines, the people that own the diamond and the gold mines, you think they still have it today?
The point I'm making to you, while they don't have it today, I'm answering you. I'm saying, yeah, while I'm agreeing with you of having or not having it, a Zimbabwe situation it was worse than what is South Africa. Zimbabwe people they had monies, and the monies had no value. People were starving. People were trying to leave the country and migrate to other countries and so on. And as great as Mugabe was one of the most educated leader in the world.
Correct.
But yet still, I think he made some serious errors in the manner that he conducted this whole thing. So I think, in a sense, Mandela was a bit more cunning. He was a bit more smarter. He was had a bit more wisdom in the way that he was doing things than
I do understand the wisdom, because we have a lot of quotations. I know that. Master of wisdom. We know that. Let me one more thing before I go. You remember Mugabe went to Jamaica and he said that he don't want no Caribbean people to come, Caribbean men to come to Zimbabwe?
I can't remember that one. I was in Jamaica at the time when I was in Jamaica. I can't remember Mugabe. I remember the bishop came there. Bishop Abel. When I was in Jamaica, Bishop
Tutu. Tutu.
Yeah, Desmond Tutu. Yes. I remember he came to Jamaica while I was living in Jamaica, but I can't remember about Mugabe. I can't remember.
You know what he said?
Yeah.
He said that the black men in the Caribbean sit on the block. He will take all the women from the Caribbean and bring them to Zimbabwe. But he don't want no talk about Caribbean people and Rastafari people want to come to Africa.
Did he have a reason for that? Did he give a reason?
Beg your pardon?
Did he give a reason why he didn't want that?
He said that they don't belong. But you know that too, Ras, that Africans don't like Caribbean people.
I wouldn't say that. No.
Oh, you didn't go.
Let me tell you, this is something that they've been pushing. For matter of fact, to tell you the truth, brother, Ghana has a policy that they are accepting people from any part of the world to come and establish themselves in Ghana.
But I understand Ghana, because Ghana has the biggest SaintLucian population there from Patterson Gap. Okay. Olga Patterson, she taught me at school, at Anglican Primary School. All her relatives left. They told Patterson Gap.
But caller, one of the things that you just said there, I think you probably need to take out that thing from your vocabulary. When you say that African people don't like Caribbean or West Indian people. I
said that, okay, let me change it. Some African countries refuse to accept Caribbean people.
But you know something, you know something about that, my brethren. You know something why that happened. Because Africa was colonized by Europeans. You all must remember that too, you know. So colonization was almost something where, you remember what really the whole concept of making a slave was by Willie Lynch. It was a concept that started in the Caribbean, and they brought it in for America and for other parts in the world. So they colonized Africa. They almost, even if there were not a lot of slaves in Africa, but there were colonization. They came, they controlled. There was some part in Africa where the Portuguese and so on. They ruled with a rod of iron. They enslaved people. And they,
you know, we know all that.
And you know what they did? They people who didn't want to work, you know, they just broke their leg and they killed them. They do them wicked things. There was a particular guy
Kenya,
from
the British,
from Portugal.
The Mau. We all know that.
So let me tell you something. We must understand that slavery, there was this policy of putting us against each other, putting us against each other based on colorism, putting us against each other based on a number of things. So sometimes we were not even have the right to be educated. We were like, if you were found educated, you have to hide that you were educated, or else you could have been killed.
We all know that, but I'm sticking to the point that there's some African countries that when they hear that black people want to move back to Africa, especially some African Americans, they object to it firmly.
But you know something, caller? You see, because my people, we were taken from Africa, brought to the Caribbean, and other parts in the Americas, and we have worked, we have died, we have suffered, we have suffered a lot as a result of all of that. These countries automatically now belong to us. We're not going to leave it for nobody. Who are we going to leave it for? Leave for the Europeans to come and take it. Huh?
Why are some of your people saying, some of the Rastafarians saying, they want to go back and live in Africa?
Well, you know something? I have reversed what you call repatriation. I have called what you call abbreviated.
I see you. We got to talk about that, okay? In length, personally, okay?
Yes. I have abbreviated that whole repatriation thing. We believe that we have to have good relationships with African countries and so on on the continent, but we need to stay here where we are here now. That's how we have worked too hard for here.
Remember, they have a big suburb in Ghana where SaintLucians live, from SaintLucian parents.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Patterson Gap, right there. Where's that? Leslie Land?
Patterson Gap, no. Patterson Gap is a part in Marshall side, I think. Marshall? Yeah.
Yes. Well, the people that the people that own that land, that left, you know, including the teacher that was at Anglican Primary School. She taught me at the Anglican Primary School. She died, and the whole family, one of the boys went to school with me at college. Yeah. The whole family went to Ghana, and they formed one of the biggest businesses and biggest suburbs in Ghana.
Okay.
A SaintLucian family named Patterson. Remember that, okay?
Okay, I remember. All right. That, yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your call. I appreciate it very much, caller.
Yeah, we all together, brother.
Yes. I appreciate your call. I appreciate your call immensely. I appreciate that call there. So right now, all we're going to do now is that if we have no more calls coming through, we are going to try to tell you some of our goodbyes tonight. It was a wonderful show. I must say I enjoyed it to the max. Moi apprécier programme ça leur soir, moi apprécier un pile et moi Sado, moi miser comme un pile à ce programme ça là, Palay Fwanchman au soir sous Caribbean Hits FM avec aussi nous la stream live sur Caribbean Hits FM / nous aussi ka simulcast sur 92.1 avec 91.1, ça c'est yon note là avec yon en sud de pays. We have been, this is Caribbean, this is Palay Fwanchman, and we have been streaming live on Caribbean Hits FM on Facebook, also simulcast on 92.1 in the north and 91.1 in the south. This was your host Ras IPA on Palay Fwanchman tonight, and I want to say blessed good night to you all who enjoyed the show. Those of you who have been listening, and those who call, I want to say thank you very much for calling. Je apprécie à tout appel zot au soir à ce Palay Fwanchman avec moi vle des autres. Ça c'était Palay Fwanchman. This was Palay Fwanchman tonight with your host Ras IPA, and we'll see you next week Tuesday. Don't forget to tune in for one of the hottest shows on social media, especially on Caribbean Hits FM with Ras IPA.